What's up, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla, SPY, and the overall market. I'm going to break down why next week is going to be very important as we have President Trump announcing more tariffs. He wants to impose them as soon as April 2nd/3rd. I'm also going to break down what's happening with more news that's coming out involving NIO. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total, and the offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, as far as NIO is going, we're looking bearish. We were not able to hold above $4. I mentioned if that's the case, we're looking for a dip to about 3.8. That's exactly where NIO went to, and there's going to be a risk of more downside with more potential tariffs coming. Now, the overall market was trying to hold support in the beginning, and then we got this massive rug pull after we got a lot of data, and that contributed to why NIO also followed the group. We had some news that came out that Citigroup gave NIO a buy rating, but they still believe that for the short term, there's going to be a lot of hurdles in the way. The price-price ratio is dipping as we're seeing some weakness for the share price. And when it comes to seasonality, keep in mind that looking at this, we tend to be green only about 50% of the time on Mondays, so it's not as strong. And besides that, that's what we're seeing for now. Now, when it comes to our economic calendar, I want to remind you all that this is part of why the market started dipping, and this did affect NIO. Some bad news came out, okay? We had our inflationary numbers. CPI came in decent a couple of weeks ago, so that was a sign that maybe the PC data should have come out decent as well. That's what I was hoping for. But instead, it was not like that. The first problem was looking at PCE, core PCE, month over month and year over year were above expectations. So we saw an increase in inflation on the core side. We also saw an increase year over year, a slight increase. Obviously, the numbers are still in like the 2.8% area year over year, and then like 0.4% is the increase. They're not like that's terrible, but it's a slight increase compared to before, and it wasn't really aligned with expectations. That's not the best of news. And then consumer confidence remains a little bit lower than expected, a big decrease compared to before. And then we also saw the inflationary expectations go up to 4.1% and 5%. So Americans are worried inflation is going to go up essentially. There's a lot of fear of that potentially happening, especially with these tariffs coming into place. And we'll see what that leads to. So far, we did see inflation go up just a little bit. Now, President Trump gave more speeches over the last couple of days. He mentioned that he's going to be increasing tariffs on lots of different products, from lumber to pharmaceuticals to autos. And he's been talking about that for quite a while. One thing that's worth mentioning is that the tariffs are set to be announced on April 2nd. President Trump describes that as Liberation Day. And then April 3rd is when he wants to like officially impose them when they start actually collecting. So just keep that in mind. I think during the afternoon on April 2nd, Trump is going to make the announcements. And then April 3rd is when we're going to be looking to see them be put into place. This could cause, some economic stress according to different reports. And you guys have to be very, very prepared for that. It's going to be affecting auto prices and etc. But President Trump insists that this is going to be worth it, and that he's trying to create fairness. Whether you agree with that or not is up to you. I just want to say that whether you agree or not, this is going to cause a big disruption. And then he also went on to talk about how he did mention that he might be a little bit lenient with just the reciprocal tariffs, and that they might not be too broad. Despite that, he still has more to come and more announcements coming. So we'll just have to see what he ends up saying. He also said today that he's going to be announcing more pharmaceuticals very, very soon. So that's going to be very important. Keep that in mind as well. So we'll see what that leads to. He didn't say too much yet. I think he's just waiting for April 2nd to make more announcements. But that's going to have a big effect on us. We had the San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly come out, and she is saying that it's reasonable to be very, very patient with the new tariff developments. She said that 225 basis points cuts are still very possible by the end of 2025. But of course, it depends on the tariffs and what we see with inflation. She did mention that. So that's still on the Fed's radar. This is what the economic calendar looks like. This is what the earnings calendar looks like. Excuse me, guys. Nothing too crazy for the week, but keep in mind we're approaching the end of the quarter. And then starting the week after next week and beyond, then we're going to be looking for some big earnings. Big tech earnings will be coming again soon. The market's at extreme fear again. We're just seeing extreme fear everywhere. The VIX got a big pump. Once again, charts look more bearish as a result of the tariff fears and also because of what we saw with inflationary numbers. Heading to next week, on Monday, we have basically some minor data coming out. So we're just going to be looking to see what happens with some data right over here. We just have like bill auctions and just very, very minor data about crops, nothing too crazy. Tuesdays when we have important data, it's going to be April 1st. And that's when things get serious because we have some jobs numbers at 10 a.m., not to mention the ISM manufacturing numbers, which are very important. New orders is going to be important for future looking data. So this is going to give us some insights about inflation, how it's affecting supply and demand. On Wednesday, very quiet day, at least in terms of our data. But don't forget that even though there's not much data coming out, President Trump is going to be announcing the reciprocal tariffs then. So it's still going to be a big day. Thursday is going to be when we have the ISM services data. So more big data comes out on Thursday. And then for Friday, we have the unemployment rate. So very important unemployment numbers. We're forecasting a slight increase in unemployment, especially with the lots of layoffs that happened in March. So we'll see how that goes. So next week is going to be crazy. Every day there's something big coming out, with the exception possibly being just like Monday. So keep that in mind. What do I see for the charts? We're looking very, very weak. We're at support on NIO at this 3.75 area. Could see a retest of like 3.85 before it continues to fall back down for about 3.6. So please keep that in mind. For SPY, we got a big rejection off this bear flag. I mentioned to you all we need to try to get back above 570 to be bullish. If we lost 564, we turn bearish. This is looking like it's going to be retesting these lows. So I do think we might be retesting 550 to 548. And if that fails us, we could be dumping to 540 flat. So I want you guys to be very careful with these levels. We're still showing lots of signs of weakness amidst the fears about these tariffs. So keep that in mind. For the QQQ, we're looking weak. We have a bear flag, big rejection. We're actually making new lows right now, so not a good sign for the triple Q. If this continues, we could end up retesting 460. So we're going to be looking at 465. This is where we had this like shop zone right about here. And then if that fails us, I think we could dip closer to like 460. And then we have these lows over here to be retested if that ends up being the case. So just keep that in mind. For the Russell, we're looking weak. Instead of trying to get that breakout, we also got a big rejection right here off another flag-like structure, so that's not a good sign for the bulls. And this is going to likely retest the trend line and then start dipping towards these lows at 197. ES is looking very weak. We're at 5,600. We might be dipping towards this low at 5560. And if that fails us, we could be looking for the low 5500s. Looks bearish. NQ got a big rejection as well. We're looking for this blue trend line to see if this holds or not. I think I had this drawn out from before. We might be dipping towards not just these lows. We'll have to see if 19,000 flat holds, but I think we might be dipping towards that. Bitcoin is barely at support at 83,000. If that holds, we could try bounce. If not, we could be dumping more towards 82,000. Nvidia is barely holding 109. We got to hold that, or else we could be dipping for 105 and then back down towards these lows, forming a double top rejection. So that's always going to be another possibility. For Tesla, it's not looking too good. Another rejection, bearish divergence. I mentioned to you all, if we can't hold 263, we're going to likely be dipping to 250 soon. So I think it might dip a little bit more. Apple has a double top now. We have an imbalance down here at 213. If we don't hold 216-ish, I do see us dipping towards that low. Coinbase is weak. Following Bitcoin, we're losing these lows, so we could be dipping closer to like 170 to 168. Amazon's going to be testing 190. If that does not hold, this will continue to make new lows. And we could be visiting around this like 185 area if 190 fails us, but I do think we test 190. Meta is very weak. We're losing the lows as well. If you zoom out, this kind of looks like a head and shoulders. We'll have to see if we could hold 575. If not, we could be dipping towards the 565 area. Microsoft is bearish, making lower highs. I would like to see it reclaim 385. Otherwise, we're at support right now around 375, and we're going to be at risk of dipping to like 372. Google's going to be dipping even more. Could be retesting 150. GameStop is weak here, looking for 20. AMC is going to be dipping towards 2.85. The DJT stock could be dipping towards, sorry about that. DJT could be dipping towards 19.2. The VIX is elevated. We have a gap to fill to 25, so it still looks bullish as the market looks bearish. The 10-year is kind of weaker. We could be dipping to the low fours, and the dollar is also looking kind of weak. We could be dipping towards 103, so keep that all in mind. Anyways, the market's looking bearish. We're looking weak now, unfortunately, and this could drag NIO lower. I would like to see us retest near $4. We could try to get close to that before it rejects, but we're going to be at risk of dipping lower amidst the whole market coming down. So please keep that in mind. There's no sign of a bounce yet, so keep this in mind. This is another long-term buying opportunity. I thank you all so much for listening, so please enjoy your weekend and peace out.